Hello friends and welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a speed build challenge and I use the challenge generator, random challenge generator by Sensation Nation. I will be linking it down in the description because I had a ton of fun using it for just a little bit of build inspiration. So the challenge that I ended up rolling, because it's a random challenge, was that the build had to be in Brindleton Bay, it had to be A-frame, it had to fit 8 Sims, and it had to include a Murphy bed and dog stuff. So I kind of knew immediately that I wanted it to be a smaller home. Oh, yeah, and I wanted it to be a smaller home. So just because when it comes to A-frame houses, I feel like they look so weird when they're really big. So I did end up using a lot of I ended up making it a small home build. I didn't really think I could fit 8 Sims in a tiny home. So the very first thing I did was figure out exactly how many tiles I could have, and I did use every last tile that I possibly could. I always feel like that's essential when it comes to the different tiers for tiny living. Like, you don't really get any prize for using less tiles than you need to when you're within the tier. So I like to make my homes like exactly the number of tiers, like the number of tiles within each tier. Even if I use up some of those tiles for outdoor space. It's just something about maximizing value to me, guys. I don't know how to explain it. But I went ahead and started trying to lay out the A-frame roof, the A-frame windows, all of that, and it kind of led me to do sort of like a craftsman farmhouse sort of a vibe. I don't usually build farmhouse homes especially, but craftsman homes not so much, just because that's not my own personal build style, and since it was a challenge, I did want to get out of my comfort zone just a little bit. The second thing that I did, because there was no way I was fitting 8 human Sims in this, and it required dog stuff anyways, is I wouldn't necessarily call it cheating, but pets do count as Sims in this game. And because pets count as Sims, and I was including dog stuff anyways, I had to have at least one dog. And if you are somebody that has a pet, or dogs specifically, and you like them, we all have the same thought. Why get just one? So I actually ended up making this a human family and then a 4 dog family. And I tried to give them lots of personality. I always feel like I'm the best when it comes to Sims, but I did basically give them 2 adults, 2 children, and then 4 corgis. I've never had a corgi. I think they're all quite adorable, but I basically had it set up that they were I tried to imply that they were animal trainers, pet trainers, dog trainers specifically, and that they rescued corgis specifically. Or maybe they're breeders or something. I don't really believe in breeders in that sense of the word. I don't want to support breeders exactly. So I really did want to stick to the idea that they rescue them and then they train them up or something. So I did do that when it came to it. And you'll see that as I'm building through, I'm really still just trying to figure out the layout, try to figure out how expensive the home is going to be, trying to figure out, if I can actually fit what else I need to fit in there. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention with the requirements. We needed to so it needed to be in Brindleton Bay. Don't know why I can't say that quickly. It needed to be an A-frame house. It had to fit 8 Sims. It had to include a Murphy bed, dog stuff, and the video station. So right away, I knew that I had to include 3 packs, because I knew it had to be tiny living. Had to be one of the packs because I had to have the Murphy bed. Obviously, cats and dogs had to be included because we're in Brindleton Bay and we had to have dog stuff. But also I knew Get Famous was sort of requirement, so I tried to make one of the Sims really want to be famous and make videos on the internet. I like to think that they are dog training videos just because I felt like it fit with the vibes of the family. I don't think you can actually do that on the video station, but because I had to use those 3 packs anyways, and then it kind of led me to trying to aim for more of a farmhouse vibe, which I'm not gonna say whether I succeeded or failed there. I'm just gonna say I did my best and I got out of my comfort zone. But with that sort of like farmhouse vibe, I decided that I really wanted to use cottage living as well. And then with having kids, that maybe want to use parenthood. So there are just a million packs. And I can tell you exactly how many if you are interested. I can put it on the gallery if you're interested. But it really was just a little storytelling prompt for me. And when I build and I'm like laying things out, I usually like to go room by room. But I usually don't use like wallpaper or flooring right away. I will just kind of lay things out, yank some things that I have some ideas for, stick them in various places, try to see how cluttered and nice I can make an aesthetic feel, and kind of get an idea of whether or not that's actually what I want to do with a space. And you can see that like I'm mostly doing that with the kitchen anyways. And then if something kind of speaks out to me or I have an idea, then I will do it. So you'll see that a lot of the times I don't go through and do all of it at once. But since I knew that like I kind of had to put the kitchen where I did, because the alternative was to make a galley kitchen by the back door, which I have a lot of fun building galley kitchens, but I didn't want to have to get to the primary bedroom through the kitchen. I just didn't quite feel like that was the vibes. And then I wasn't sure if I could actually fit like a couch and a TV in that little nook. So it ended up being perfect for a kitchen. And that's what I ended up using it for. And once I had the kitchen, I knew that I wasn't going to have a true living room, but I still wanted to have some sort of sitting space within that little hallway nook there. Because that's kind of the nature with an A-frame house, is you can't have any windows anywhere except for the front and the back of the house, because those are roof pieces. And the Sims don't live within the roofs. It would be really nice if we could make that happen, but I imagine that it would be incredibly glitchy in the end anyways, so don't ruin my dreams. But when it comes to those A-frame houses, I feel like they're really hard to lay out because you don't have a whole lot of windows, and it's basically just a long, skinny house. And you have to have an upstairs, but the upstairs is always going to be infinitely smaller than the downstairs. So I tried to lay it out as naturally as I thought it would be in real life. Like, obviously, it's not the most convenient home. It is really small, but I can't really imagine like somebody having a space like that and it being fully designer and following all of like the design rules, if you know what I mean. Like if you spend a lot of time on Pinterest, there are just certain rules of design that I think most people, when they're living their lives, like they're not trying to design their spaces quite like that. Not everybody is super obsessed with like a big designer space. And so since this is more like a family home, I was trying to give it those like lived in family vibes. And you can see here, like I was kind of experimenting with the couches. I didn't quite know what like a farmhouse couch would look like. And I kind of started with like French farmhouse, French country, and just felt way too formal and not at all thrifted. I tried to stick some built-ins in, like a nice entertainment center, and then at the very end you can see that I tried to give the Sims a lot more hobbies than just like TV and dancing and reading books. But for the most part, the main skill here is supposed to be the dog training. But I did want to, another thing that is involved with like making the space feel more lived in and less designer is I didn't go like all out when it came to trying to match wood tones. And that's like a really big thing in the Sims game in general, is that the browns, like almost none of the browns match, especially when you're going from pack to pack, but almost none of the browns match, almost none of the white swatches match. The black swatches certainly don't match. Like, you're not going to get consistent swatches amongst the different furniture and amongst the different packs. So I tried to keep it more like natural and textural when inside of the home. And through doing that, I chose to try to like aim for more of like almost a thrifted vibe. Like I have a couple of main colors that I tried to bring in a few times, which were mostly yellow, mostly green, and then the occasional red here and there, but I wasn't strict with those colors. Like this isn't a themed color build. And the way that I saw it is if this family is acquiring furniture over a long period of time, like they're going to get a matching table set, but the table set is not going to match like the entertainment center. The entertainment center is a completely separate purchase. And then they're gonna have like their bedroom set, which is not going to match everything else in the house because that's like the primary bedroom set. And then even so, like the kids' bedroom isn't going to match all of the wood tones that are in the living room, in the dining room, in the kitchen. And not everything is going to just be white because the windows and the door is white. You know what I mean? So I really did try to match wood tones where I thought it made most sense. Like you usually buy dining chairs with a dining table. So I tried to match wood tones, and I did match the wood tones between the dining table and the dining chairs. But I wasn't trying to like make them all buy from a catalog, all from the same store. Like if it didn't match from room to room, even in that big open space, I didn't sweat it too much. And you'll see that especially for the back door. I have a couple of pieces of furniture there that I put because it seemed the most practical. And it might not be practical in terms of like The Sims, but it is practical in terms of like how a space would function in real life, or maybe not even in real life. But you'll see I kind of sneak some pet stuff around. Here I was trying to decide if I wanted to entertain the idea of big dogs or little dogs, but in a little home like this, I thought that maybe having a big dog would be nice. And here you can see that I like lined up a ton of dog beds. In the end, I decided that that wasn't the best use of the space, and that the dogs could sleep on the couch. And since I went with smaller dogs, that they could like sleep in the bed, I think, or maybe just on the chair. So I only ended up putting one dog bed in the home, and that I don't regret that at all. And you can also see when I throw stuff down, a lot of it isn't the final swatch. I'm just kind of laying out the space, getting idea for what I want, trying to put in some scale building items and make the space as functional as I think it would be. The upstairs bathroom, guys, I tried so hard to put in a sink, but I just couldn't make it work because of where the door was and the way stairs were. And at the point that I was really trying to lay out that bathroom, it was way too late to change the stairs, and there wasn't really a good way to change the floor plan completely. So I decided not to. I decided to just make do with that teeny tiny bathroom. I kind of imagined it as being added on later. Like I imagined that both of the bathrooms were somewhat renovated to be more modern. And so instead of having a sink, they really do just have the absolute necessity, which is a toilet and a shower. So the Sims are gonna go downstairs to wash their hands. I'm really sorry. I know that's so inconvenient. Maybe you can make one of them a slob or something. I personally didn't see that big of a problem with it because it just seemed more realistic to me for a tiny house. And maybe I can go through and like fix it up and renovate it or something. I also spent a lot of time when I'm doing Sims builds. Sometimes I'll take a break from the inside and try to get the outside going the way that I think it should. And so you can see me here like adding some greenery, trying to decide, because I noticed this lot is not actually attached to the road. You're just kind of surrounded by trees and forest. There is no indication of how you actually get to this lot. And I really wanted to lean into that because there was so much greenery around it with just this big patch of grass. I thought it made sense to have greenery around the house and around the property, but still like fence it in, maybe have some paving. And so that's what I did. I tried to really incorporate it with the area around it. I put some ivy around the doors, which is not something that I usually do. I almost never use hanging like plants that are climbing in my builds, but I actually ended up really loving the way that it worked. And then I had thrown down some items that I wanted to use earlier, but I hadn't arranged them and I hadn't picked my swatches yet. So you can see that like I'm just kind of getting an idea of what the outside of the house is going to look like, and I'm focusing a little bit more on the whole corgis thing. And that mailbox is actually what made me decide to make it a full corgi home, because to me it made sense to use like the dog mailbox if you have 4 of those dogs. And so I think the other swatch was for like a husky, and huskies are very large dogs, and I did not really have room for a very large dog. So I don't know if that's actually what the animal for the mailbox was supposed to be, but to me it kind of looked like a corgi. So I decided that they get to be corgi trainers and corgi rescuers. And I just really ended up loving the way that looked. I know I try to make it like combine the like aesthetic both of being like kind of wild in terms of like things not being perfectly polished, things like ivy climbing up the house and such. The hanging plants are kind of hanging down a little bit, like they have some vines on them. I did some like rough shiplap and like wall texture on the inside. And then like some random wildflowers in the front with like a very prim, proper, and polished build. I thought that juxtaposition would make the place look a little bit more realistic. I really struggled with that, and I don't think the landscaping was like the most amazing thing for this build, but I also really liked the idea of just having like a big yard for all the dogs to run around. So I surrounded it with more of like the trimmed bushes with the flowers. And then I just kind of threw some wildflowers in there, and I wanted to have the very like sleek and modern like tin roof, but then like the almost not falling apart, but like older looking worn brick for the outside. And then of course this is, I know it's such like a EA thing, but I always feel like I have to run through with some dirt to like give the place more texture. And I specifically wanted to use the mud around the dog training stuff because I like in real life, if you have like a big tube covering a good chunk of your grass for your dogs to play in, it's gonna get muddy. I mean, nothing is gonna grow there. Things are like the grass is going to die there. And then the dogs running in and out is going to constantly kick up the dirt there, so nothing is ever going to grow. It's always going to be dead there, and I think it's going to be even more than just dead grass. I think you're just going to have mud because underneath the tube is going to be cold and moist, and sorry that I said moist in my video, but that's kind of how I felt about that. So that's why I specifically chose the mud swatch, and that's probably more than you ever needed to know about such things. Now you can see I'm trying to go back, add a little bit more personality to the space, put some curtains where curtains make sense, add some different, like, not just decorations, but like skill building items, and imply different levels of, what am I thinking, of like personality for the Sims, because at this point I hadn't built the Sims. I built the house first. And so I was trying to like put some gallery walls in, get some wall decorations going. I found another little like corgi wall print that I put in the kids' bedroom, try to like make the bathrooms look a lot less sterile. I put like the subway I think excuse me, I think I'd already put the subway tile in the kitchen and the bathrooms previously, because I personally, and this is such an unpopular thing, but I personally don't like subway tile. To me, it makes a space look like a public bathroom. Please don't like come after me if that is like, if your house has subway tile in it. I don't mind it in other people's homes. Like, I don't walk into somebody's house and go, ugh, subway tile. But I've never seen a subway tile that I actually like. But I think that it is like a core part of a farmhouse style, and that particular tile is one that I use a lot in The Sims as like a backsplash in kitchens and then as bathroom tile, because it is such a popular thing. It's such a safe choice, even if it's not something I would put in my personal home. And you can see here, this is what I was talking about when I was saying by the back door. I wanted it to be a lot more functional, even if the wood swatches didn't match. So I had like imagined that some of these were maybe hand-me-downs, some of these pieces had maybe been thrifted, some of them maybe they built themselves. And you can see that they're all white by the back door, but they're different kinds of white. And you can see like here I'm putting in more clutter, some plants. That's something I like to do all at once. I just like to grab all the plants that I like and throw them wherever. And you can see when I'm putting in clutter, like I will pull out a piece of clutter that I think like looks really cool, and if I can't find a place for it, I just won't use it. And that's usually how I keep myself in check to prevent myself from going overboard on different clutter pieces. So you can see here I really am just trying to like give it some finishing touches, and that's something I have a hard time with because I never know when the build is done, and then I feel like I always forget something. But at the end of the day, oh, that's another thing. I had to have certain lot traits. I had to have good schools, was the only one that was required. I decided to add a couple more that would have helped with like the dog training, and since the idea was that they were like a pet rescue family, I went ahead and made it like a dog friendly lot. Yeah, dog friendly. So that like more dogs would just kind of wander in and they could get to know them. Because at least one of the Sims has the animal aspiration. And when it came to like an outdoor space with families, I always like to give them like a little bit of outdoor living space, especially in a house like this that's supposed to have like 8 Sims. Even when I have the indoor dining table, I always like to put a picnic table in the backyard with a grill. I feel like it makes sense. And in Brindleton Bay, like that is just asking for it. I went ahead, I put in a guitar, I put in like some crochet materials, I put in various, what other skills did I put in? I did not put in a chess table. I did not really give them any way to build their logic skill other than reading books. That is something that's not normal for me. But now we can go ahead and jump into Cass, and I will show you how I built these Sims. So Cass is definitely not my strong suit when it comes to Sims, but I am finding that when I'm doing builds, I like to tell some stories with them, and for me that involves putting Sims in them. I know that's probably a weird thing when it comes to a speed build, like who cares who's living there, but for me it really makes the build worth it to show the Sims that are going to be living there. And so the first Sim that I made was Tabitha Miles. She's the matriarch of the family. I really wanted to use like the Brindleton Bay assets, just because it was a Brindleton Bay build. She does have the animal aspiration. I made her cheerful, a dog lover, and clumsy. And I ended up really liking the updo with the red bow. So I tried to give her a little bit of a red theme. And then every single time I give Sim like an updo for their hairstyle, I like to have a couple of outfits where they have their hair down, so I try to like match a hair to it that might be. And I do the same thing if my Sim has like long hair, then when it comes to athletic wear, for example, I will almost always find like an updo for them to exercise in. It's something that just makes sense to me, and then also like it gives my Sims a little bit more of a personality to me rather than like a cartoon character feel, because they don't just have their hair and outfit the same constantly all the time. But after I made Miss Tabitha, or Mrs. Tabitha, because she is married to Diego Miles, and for him, I gave him the celebrity aspiration. His goal is to become like the rich and famous dog trainer. So the video station is there primarily for him. He's also a dog lover. I also made him childish and self-absorbed. So I figured that he would get down and play with the children quite a bit, and I thought that that kind of personality would be really good for video making. Not that I'm saying that those are my traits exactly, or the traits of any other content creator. I just thought that it would be pretty funny. And I like to give all of my Sims a, like, societally perceived negative trait, which is why I made, like, Tabitha clumsy. For Diego, I made him self-absorbed, and he is quite the family man. For him, I really didn't feel like there needed to be a lot for change, or to change for him. I liked his glasses, and I didn't really have a big like color theme for him, so I kind of just stuck with him. I used the genetics generator to determine the children, and I tried to give them each their own personality also, but that is really hard to do with kids in The Sims. I tried to give them all like a like or dislike for the various hobbies that I put around, but I also just randomize it every single time. So either they're gonna love or they're gonna hate the build. And so it'll be certain things that they like and don't like doing, and then I'll like go through and be like, well, this person likes to crochet. So like I made Diego, the husband, I made him want to crochet a lot. And then I think I made her like the one who plays guitar. And there's a kind of son of others. Like I made him, obviously, he liked video production because he was the celebrity one. And then for the children, I think one of them, because I put like a soccer ball in the build, I think I wanted to make one of them somewhat athletic. And so I gave them like the physical aspiration, like the kids one. I can never remember what they're called. There's only 4 of them. You would think I'd be able to remember. But I think I kind of emphasized that. I emphasized their desire to like be out with the dogs and training. So I gave them the like physical motion, I don't remember what it's called still, aspiration. And then the other one, I wanted to emphasize like a little bit more for creativity, I believe. If I remember correctly, one of them ended up being an art lover. So I went ahead and gave them like the desire to read, or the intelligence, or maybe one of them was an art lover and the other one wanted to read. I don't really remember. They evolved quite a few times. But the second child, after I randomized him, I honestly thought his face looked a little bit like a frog. So I ended up naming him Kermit and giving him all green clothes. I couldn't help myself. I thought it was really funny. So his name is Kermit. I'm sorry for those of you who hate me for that. And then I made the 4 corgis. I wanted to give them all different color patterns because I don't know about you guys, but when I have 2 pets that look even slightly the same, I lose track of them. I can't keep track of them. It doesn't matter that they're the same color, I lose them. So I did the 2 different types of corgis. I picked the coats, and then I gave them random aspirations, which turned them into a mixed breed, even though they were still all the same look. But I just thought that it went well with the whole like corgi rescue thing, so I left it. I didn't really feel like it was that important. I just wanted them to have random traits. And from there, I always set up my household. Like I always give them like I set up their rooms, I give them their beds, I try sometimes to set up their relationship or what their hobbies are. And so that is mostly what I did here. I set up everybody's beds, I let the dogs run around a little bit, I just really enjoy that sort of a thing. I know it's kind of like a little bit silly, I know that, it's okay. You guys don't have to watch this part of like me setting them all up. But honestly, these people are going to be townies in my save file now, because I'm probably never going to play with them again. I might, who knows? But when it comes to this sort of a thing, I will usually just set them up, get them situated. I do care about them. I mean, I did create them. These are my Sims. These are my babies. So I will also usually do that to play test the house a little bit. Like if there's something I'm not sure if they can actually use or not, then I will test it here. Like when I used to make bathrooms, like the one upstairs that has a shower in the middle that's like open, I used to play test to make sure they could actually use the bathroom, which I can assure you, like I am very confident that they can walk through that shower to use the toilet. It is functional. But I do all of that, and then I usually go to the main menu and I will mark them as unplayed, which can either, because sometimes I like to turn off the aging for my unplayed Sims, but with this new story progression update, I might turn that off and let them progress, because now I don't really have to worry so much about my family's dying out, because they'll actually have kids without me. So, you know, it's a blessing and a curse, because I've seen that a lot of people have way too many kids. Like, I saw a post today by the Sims community, and I will absolutely link their stuff down below because they're awesome. They produce awesome content, and I really enjoy almost all of their articles. But they had showed a picture of a family where the land grabs, basically... Yeah, the land grab household was just a cat, because both of the land grabs had died, but they bought a cat. I just thought it was really funny. So I'll probably post, I'll share that link and the Sim community link down below. But that is everything today, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Go ahead and like and subscribe for more awesome content. And on Monday, you'll see the next part of the Not So Berry Challenge. Thank you.